Hello and welcome to the WhatCulture Football Deadline Day live stream. I'm Adam Wilbourn from WhatCulture Football, joined by Ewan Patterson and Adam Clery from WhatCulture Football, as our producer Phil crawls out of the studio as we take you through all of the Deadline Day deals before the transfer window. What did you say earlier? Slams shut.
Legally, you're obliged to say it's slam shut. It's never closed or ended, even though it does just end because of the transfer window. But it slams shut.
So we are, less than an hour to go.
Every time you forget to say slam shut, one hair falls off Richard Key's hands.
We are
starting
here
with the palms.
So yes, we are here to run you through the final hour of transfer deadline day. Let us know your thoughts on the last minute transfers in the comment section. I'll take a look in a second. Adam Clery will be keeping up to date with the very, very latest.
Meant to have a laptop.
Yes, transfer deadline day news. As we head into this final hour, what are some of the big things?
Well, the biggest story today is obviously Dybala being off after everything we've heard. He was going here, he was going there, he was going every fucking where, because we can swear on this live stream. It's now off. Juventus have just gone, wait, no, hang on, we haven't bought anyone in yet. We can't sell him. So he's not going to Man United as a part exchange with Romelu Lukaku. He's not going to Tottenham for 64 million plus £350,000 a week or anything like that. He's in fact not going anywhere. He's staying at Juventus and is going to presumably just have to fight for his place again.
It's been this one of the sagas of the summer, and then at the end they just went, actually, we don't really fancy.
We should say, obviously, it's only the Premier League transfer window. It's shut at 5. It's slam shut at 5 p.m. today. Obviously, clubs in Spain, France, and Germany are free to do business until the 31st, and I think it's Serie A that closes on the 15th. One of them closes on the 15th, but the bulk of them are for the rest of this month. So there's nothing to say Dybala won't still leave Juventus, just that he won't be doing so to a Premier League side unless something dramatic happens in and I'm going to watch the next 45 minutes.
Yes. I've got the comment section open here, so if you want to give us some suggestions on who you think's done the best or worst pieces of business as we head into the transfer deadline day. Before I get to you, I just want to quickly ask Adam Clery about arguably the transfer of the day so far. Andy Carroll,
yes,
he's coming home.
Yes, obviously, if that gets officially confirmed, I will be leaving to go to Pop World. I've got several cans under the desk. Thing is, he
does know Gotham's changed now, doesn't he?
He's going to be absolutely devastated to find out that Gotham's now a trendy beerology style mess full of like dads who like Mumford & Sons. But I would like to point out, I am very excited about Andy Carroll coming back to Newcastle because one of those rare transfers where you get to be a little bit excited for just things other than football reasons. He's a Newcastle fan, and he likes Newcastle, and he was very good when he played for us. So it's nice, but it does kind of gloss over the fact that there's still a huge amount of money in this alleged transfer war chest for Steve Bruce that hasn't been spent. He's had his entire career's been blighted by injuries. Goal record elsewhere has not been particularly brilliant. He's already going to walk back in and revitalise the team, and we have effectively lost Rondon and Perez, who were proven goal scorers in this division, and Rafa Benitez, who was an exceptional manager at this level, did wonders with that side, and replaced them all with less players who are unproven in this league, and some even on this continent. And now, in the case of Andy Carroll, someone whose fitness is open to question.
Daniel Kamenzuli in the comment section has said, us Blades have done brilliantly, any more for us? Sheffield United have done pretty well, to be fair. Do you think Newcastle have done enough to stay up this season?
No. They might do, purely because there could be 3 worse teams, but in terms of like deservedly doing enough or bringing in the right kind of players to guarantee stay up, absolutely not.
Based on the business conducted this summer, who do you think is most likely to go down then?
I would love to think that Aston Villa have stacked an impressive bonfire that's going to catch light sometime around February. But again, when you bring that many players and you spend that much good money, as they have done, you don't really know until you know. Sheffield United, you would say, unless they've got some really good game plan and they're very well organised, similar to how a few teams have been when they've come up, you would say they look the weakest on paper. Brighton don't appear to have addressed too many of the issues they had last season.
Signed Aaron Moy today, though.
Yes, Aaron Moy on loan. It's a positive step, but they were, it wasn't just a mercurial number 10 they were short last year. It was all over the pitch. And if indeed Lewis Dunk does go today, as we think he might do, they could be in even more trouble.
Yeah, we'll get some more of the comments here. Luke says Liverpool have had the worst transfer window. And Logic Gaming says, do Liverpool need a signing? Do you feel like you need someone in this final hour?
Definitely, it's not happening today, obviously. Yeah, I do understand the complaints that maybe Liverpool have stood still this summer. You're the champions of Europe. Usually, you then go on to address even the slightest frailty in your team with, a proper signing. But trust in Klopp. You see what he's done. He's got a fantastic group of players at his disposal. Still haven't seen the best from Keita and Shaqiri. And I definitely understand the point that we have nowhere near as much squad depth as our title rivals. But look on the bright side of things.
Are you sure this was your next question? But if Spurs pull off at least 2 out of the 3 deals have been linked with today, would you be worried about them?
I think Spurs are a fantastic side, even when they didn't reinforce last summer. And I think that they've had a really good window so far. They've got Sessegnon from Fulham now as well. So that's Sessegnon and Dybala. They might be getting Lo Celso potentially in the last hour of the deadline. Yeah, it's a great side. I mean, if they lose Eriksen to Atletico Madrid, I think it's the most recent rumours. That's still kind of, you're not really upgraded. It's just a like-for-like replacement there, which obviously is not.
I've heard about Eriksen going to Man United so many times this summer that when you just said if they lose him to Atletico, I was like, well, that's Man United's problem. Not Tottenham. How would Man United replace Eriksen? I should just point out Lukaku has officially signed with Inter. The transfer is yet to be officially thingy, but the contract is signed. He said, "It was the only club I wanted because Inter is not for everyone," which is.
Oh, I did see you tweeted something with a hashtag "not for everyone."
Bit of a weird one, that.
Inter not for.
Am I just saying that about your significant other?
But international.
I love you. You're not for everyone, but I love you.
Yeah.
Oh, my brain is crying.
Of course, the other major thing today is Ryan Sessegnon going to Tottenham from Fulham for 25 million.
It's Bertie OK says, is Ryan Sessegnon going to be a good replacement for Kieran Trippier? And then that's about
not a replacement for Kieran Trippier. He's a left-sided player, primarily used on the left wing. He was a left back by trade, but now he's been moved to the left wing.
I think Fulham pushed him forward last season when they realised they had no good attacking players.
What's going to become of Danny Rose? I guess you have the versatility of Sessegnon there that he can play on both sides. Well, not both, but further upfield or further back if needed. A great young player. Didn't really see much of him in the Premier League last season to really justify the hype that was kind of chalked up.
He was one of the tips of last season, wasn't he?
So, exciting player for the Tottenham to side. A very Spurs side.
Yes.
But, yeah, interesting buy all the same.
Latest update on Marcus Rojo to Everton. Apparently, Everton look to have left it a little bit too late to get anything done. There's apparently a bit of tension behind the scenes at Everton because certain members of the infrastructure were assured this would be able to be done today, and it hasn't actually gone through.
They couldn't get Zuma off Chelsea. They then tried to sign a loan player. I forget the youngster from Chelsea, but then they tried to sign him on loan. And now they've gone to Marcus Rojo. It feels almost like Arsenal and Everton were in the exact same... They're caught between the exact same centre-back stupor. Well, I'll get David Luiz from Chelsea if you get Marcus Rojo from...
Dare you?
Yeah, because they were in for Chris Smalling as well, apparently, the other day, which, again, completely bizarre business. But, Everton, you could argue they've had a very good window. As they tried to say they did 2 seasons ago, and obviously it was a very bad window.
Yeah, I think they're going to be one of a faster starter. They've got a decent opening few games. A lot of Man United fans in the comment section right now.
My sympathies.
Vince LaSalle says, surely striker after selling Lukaku to Inter, but Lazy Boy TV says, glad the Mandzukic deal has fallen through. Ed Woodward at work again, stopped signing players for shirts. Why sign a player approaching their expiry date? United once again underperforming, having needed high quality players.
I would say that even if you don't particularly rate Mandzukic or you think he hasn't got that long left, or you even have question marks over his suitability in that team or in this league, you're going to be short a body if nothing else. I mean, Lukaku, for all the revisionism over Romelu Lukaku's time at Man United is already quite striking because you don't score something like 200 goals before your 26th birthday or 150 or however many it is if you're not an exceptional footballer. And the guy went on some majorly important runs for them. I think what he finished last season on something 18, 20 goals or something like that. You need to replace that regardless of where it comes from. So unless they're absolutely convinced that Martial can get an extra 10 goals this year, or Rashford can get an extra 10 goals this year, or Phil Jones can play at front, I don't quite see how Lukaku leaving without replacement coming in can be seen as anything other than really bad business.
They only have the only option currently right now will be either to play Martial centre forward or Rashford centre forward, and obviously I think Rashford's probably displayed his best work when on the left side of a three-pronged attack.
Breaking news: Sheffield United want Mo Besic on loan from Everton, which would be, as we've just said, Sheffield United not really done too much in the transfer market. Mo Besic is a solid player.
They have, Sheffield United for me, arguably done the most intriguing piece of business.
They got McBurney, didn't they?
Yes.
But I'm fascinated. I haven't seen him for years, obviously. I'm fascinated to see what Ravel Morrison does back in the Premier League.
I thought you were going to say Paul Pesky Solido there. So I hate to break it to you, but he's not there anymore.
Because he was this player who was obviously hyped up. He went to West Ham. He went to, I think, QPR. Yeah, went to QPR. Then obviously went abroad to the likes of Lazio. And there's always been this talk about him having the potential of being one of the world's best players, but then just being sort of a victim of his own success, or contributing to his own downfall, whatever football cliche you want to use there. And I think Sheffield United fans are pinning a lot of hope on players like him.
I've seen him described in the past as the most talented player I've ever seen by certain managers and whatnot. He went to Lazio. He thought maybe this could be the kind of bizarre catalyst to really kick him on. Like maybe he needs to grow up a bit, and doing that away from his environment where he was growing up could be the thing to do it. And for whatever reason, he just hasn't. But he's still got age on his side. He's still got ability on his side. And you just think maybe with a little bit of a point to prove. Now, I remember when he was at QPR and he clearly had something to prove. He put in 2 or 3 really strong performances. Not enough to keep him up ultimately, but he does look a player occasionally. And I don't know, maybe having the entire hopes of a recently promoted club dumped on your shoulders is not. But I mean, where else do you make diamonds other than under extreme pressure?
Sheffield United are a really unknown quantity. Because I didn't watch any Championship football last season. And same goes for Norwich as well. I couldn't name you a single piece of business that Norwich has done this summer, other than I know that they have a very talented squad, ostensibly, with Max Aarons at fullback and
Norwich have got a similar sort of vibe to, I think, Wolves coming up last year, without being quite as good as that. Wolves had a very clearly defined philosophy, which was very apparent when they came up. I remember watching their first game of the season, I think against, I'm going to get this wrong,
Everton.
but I think it was Everton. I was going to say Chelsea, so I was close. Yeah. And you sort of thought Everton, a lot of spending, big side, certainly a tough challenge for a newly promoted side. And they didn't sit back; like they went at them. They played the exact same way they were playing against teams at the bottom of the Championship when they had Everton going to Molineux. And I think people realised straight away, they've got a very clearly defined sort of attitude towards their game. They know exactly how they want to play, and it served them really well over the course of the season. I think there's a much wider conversation to be had here about how promoted teams approach the league when they come up, because I remember by and large, not even that long ago, every promoted team try to shut games down. They try to minimise the number of goals. They try to play for scrap points here and there, because the goal thing going up was so different. I think possibly because you had all this influx of foreign managers who were bringing their pesky philosophies and ability in the Premier League, and then Paul McSlazenger from who's done a little bit in the conference, dragging up Norwich and Hove Albion.
You can say Neil Warnock. Yeah,
basically, Neil Warnocks of the world had no idea how to play them, so we're just trying to stop these bloody foreigners playing. But now, you get this philosophy and this football education permeating all the levels of English football now, and when teams come up, they tend to be really well organised, really expressive, and not defensive anymore, which I think is great. But, again, Sheffield United, who knows? They could be the first shin kickers we've had in the league in a long time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those things where I do believe that, or I hope at least, that Ravel Morrison shines in that team, but I sense they're just going to fall short. Same with Norwich, despite the fact that they are. It's weird to be sat there here saying, I think the team who were in the playoffs are probably most likely to say it, but I think Norwich, they played some wonderful football last season.
This just in from Anfield, Jurgen Klopp's been doing his press conference this afternoon, asked whether Liverpool fans should be paying any attention to the final hours of the transfer window. He said, not likely. So, there you go.
Thanks very much for watching.
Nothing happening for Liverpool. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
I paid attention to some of the conference earlier on. Someone mentioned Felipe Coutinho, whether they'd been offered a chance to re-sign him. And Klopp there was a very cryptic answer. Basically, the implication being that maybe, yes, there was an offer, but nah, which again, fair play.
You would imagine Coutinho's been pumped around every club with the ability to pay his wages this summer, wouldn't you? Like, every single division, every single side.
Well, there's talk he's got to Bayern Munich now, which, yeah.
Coutinho's the same as Dybala for me. I'd be almost certain he's going to move in this transfer window. A lot of people are saying this Gareth Bale's going to be trapped at Madrid. He's not. That window's open until the 31st. Coutinho will move, I would say. Dybala will move, I would say. Bale will move, I would say. It's a shame because you want to get excited about watching the league, because there's something like 380 Premier League games every season, and only 19 of them actually relate to your club.
Yeah.
So to watch the rest of them, you do like to have these exciting players in the league, don't you?
I was going to have a question.
38 of them, sorry.
Yeah.
38 of
This
them.
is our second window where the deadline's been in place.
I was going to ask this, yeah.
And do we think
Teams
this is...
still getting caught out, which is ridiculous.
Well, the thing is, do we think this is an impediment to the Premier League? Do we think... Because when it was first introduced at the time, I was like, well, this was off the Coutinho saga, where he was basically being really disruptive to try and, Barcelona were constantly settling the player midway through, a very important Champions League qualification knockout round we had against Hoffenheim. I could definitely see the logic there. Well, if they can't that didn't address the issue of not being able
The
to sign.
transfer window should shut before league start, but if you're going to be the only league doing it, you do have yourself at a bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah, I think I always just assumed that it was going to be a sort of universal across Europe. I suppose, in a way, it kind of matters to teams such as yourself, arguably more than your team, just because you sense that if Newcastle had a poor start to the season, for example, but still had 2 weeks left and could maybe go, right, we can clearly see that they should have probably worked this out in pre-season, but we can clearly see that our biggest issue here is in defence.
I love how you said if there. I mean, we're a terrible example of this because we have had dreadful starts to seasons and still no money ever gets spent.
No.
So.
I remember, how was the start last season?
First time I've had a season ticket in a very long time, and Newcastle's worst home start to a season for 125 years. So it's a good deal. Bit of news, Romelu Lukaku has officially now signed for Inter Milan from Manchester United. He becomes the third most expensive signing by a Serie A club following his 74 million move to Inter Milan. Can either of you two guess the two most expensive Serie A players? No, not Ronaldinho.
No.
Absolutely not.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh, of course.
You idiot. And Gonzalo Higuain. Higuain was 1.3 million more expensive, so there you go. Manchester United tweeted saying, Lukaku departs for Italy with our thanks and best wishes for the future. Isn't that nice?
That's nice.
We've had a donation from
Super Chat's on, isn't
Augustine
it?
Perez.
Thank
Thank you
you
so
very
much for your donation. He says, hey guys, what's your opinion on West Ham? Pellegrini made Villarreal and Malaga a Champions League team after 2 or 3 seasons. Greetings from Chile.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
What are your opinions on West Ham? A lot of talk about
We've
them.
country Chile, isn't it? Because it's warm. They called it that.
Let's concentrate on West Ham.
That's a good joke. Yeah, West Ham. I know that was going to pop you if you know what you've done there. West Ham is a really curious case again because I feel as though we're in danger of dismissing them and being quite condescending and being like, oh, it's another West Ham window where they're selling them a couple of strikers and they're not going to do anything, which we have been doing. Which is fair enough.
God, yes,
because
absolutely.
there is a precedent for it.
We shouldn't probably, because I noticed from our... me and Nicholas got asked yesterday who's the best captain in the Premier League, and we went through a couple of names. So they don't really get any sort of captains anymore. It's more just figureheads at clubs, even if they're sort of quiet or shy. It tends to just be the most experienced person on the squad now. And we offered up a few suggestions. Neither of us said Mark Noble, and I was inundated. Probably more people than I think watched the video tweeted me saying, Mark Noble, the most captain in the world. Comments going like, no mention for Mark Noble. And no mention for Mark Noble. What are you saying about West Ham?
Do we... Is this the summer where their project kind of comes... They've got a great...
Yeah.
They've got some fantastic players in Anderson, and obviously you've got Rice coming through as well. Is this... On paper, this is a very, very good squad. You've got Fabianski, you've got some... I don't want to basically just say, oh, but it's West Ham. But is it just West Ham?
The thing is, I remember the last time this conversation happened, it was specifically about Spurs. And you can't write Spurs off for the league title because it's Spurs, and Spurs will do with Spurs. And then as the season went on, you realised that Arsenal had dropped off, and Chelsea had dropped off, and Liverpool had dropped off, and Man City had dropped off. It just became Leicester and Tottenham for the league title. I was like, this is their chance. This is their chance. And they didn't do a Spurs in the sense that threw it away, because Leicester ran away with that league and there's nothing they could have done about it realistically. But the fact that by the end of the season they'd managed to come third in a 2-horse race means that ultimately they did end up doing a Spurs. Now, for a side like West Ham or Everton or Leicester or Watford or Wolves to really break into that top 4 would be so much better for the league from a neutral perspective, because it breaks up that monotony. And I would love to see the final sort of 10-15 games of the season have clearly defined top 4 teams duking it out with really hungry sort of next bracket downsides to see if any of them could get that Champions League spot, because it's exciting, isn't it, when you get a new side in the Champions League, or if it's at least there for it to be played for. It's great. However, I will say that I think West Ham have got the best side they've arguably ever had. I think Fabianski's a great goalkeeper. They may even have goals this season, although Felipe Anderson was incredible to watch last year in parts. But every time I look at them, I look down the spine of that team from centre back to centre midfield, and I just think, when they're not playing well, can they grind out results? Or if a worse team digs in against them, have they got enough there to really sort of have the guile to get themselves out of it? And I look at Watford, and I think maybe they do. And I look at Everton to an extent, I think maybe they do now. But West Ham, I think, on their day, maybe wipe the floor with either of those two teams, but I just think could be outmanoeuvred. Pellegrini is a bit of an X factor for me because he has a fantastic record before he came to the Premier League, but then he did have to manage the easiest team to manage in the Premier League. So I don't know. I would like to see them do well. It would be more interesting for everybody if they did do well.
You mentioned when Leicester won the Premier League there, and that was amazing.
It happened, yeah.
Yeah.
And David Moyes was Man United manager.
We went through when certain other teams were going through periods of transition, and as you mentioned there, it was really Tottenham that were challenging them towards the end. When you look at the Premier League this season, obviously it's not going to be, well, I think it's generally accepted that it's not going to be another Leicester team out of nowhere winning the league. But outside of Man City, Tottenham and Liverpool, that fourth spot is arguably up for grabs more than it has been in quite some time. I think Arsenal are looking incredibly strong with the signings that they've made, but as we've always mentioned, yes, just a bit. Score lots of goals and pray that they don't concede as many seems to be their tactic. Man United are a bit of an unknown quantity. It's inexplicable, as people are saying in the comments, that they've sold Lukaku without having someone there immediately ready, or even just a swap deal or something like that. The fact that the Mandzukic deal, as much as people moaned that he may be past his sell-by date, at least he's a body you can get in there who can and has scored
even
goals.
Even if it's just for a season or two, a club like Man United can afford to take like that on, and like even if it costs them, let's say, just throw a figure out, like 30. Let's say they had to pay 35 million to get Mandzukic in. If you're only going to get 18 months, 12 months out of him, then you've got to sell him at a loss. You can do that. Like if you only pass him on again for like 10 or 15 in a year's time, then that's fine. Like the amount of goals he could conceivably get you in one season, if that's the difference between fifth and fourth, pay for themselves.
It just feels like they don't have a genuine transfer strategy. It's very reactive, not very proactive.
This was the thing, like at the start of the window, we were told all this about how like, they've got Solskjaer in place because they want to have a different philosophy at the club, and Woodward's been working behind the scenes, and they're not just going to buy players because they're a name value or anything like this. They've got a genuine policy. They want to bring in these young, hungry players who could become classic Man United players. Because remember, before Ferguson signed, they never brought in a Forlan or anything like that. You know what I mean? So not Forlan, Sanchez. I think them two mixed up. You never bought these like stupidly expensive, want-away, average footballers. You know, they only brought players in from other teams, and there was like Van Persie being the best example. Like the contrast between him going to Man United when he really had a point to prove in winning the league and wanted to do something, versus Sanchez going there where he's just fed up with being at Arsenal. Play piano a bit. And we saw all these names linked, and they didn't look on the face of it like proper Man United players. Like, you're not going to find a bigger Sean Longstaff fan in the 10-mile radius than me, and even I was a bit like, he's played 9 games for Newcastle. He's good, I like him, but he's played 9 games, and they're talking about spending 35 million on him. And Wan-Bissaka, again, I know we said this morning, Man United fans in the comments like, but we hate Ashley Young so much. Right back wasn't a problem position. It wasn't somewhere they needed to throw money at urgently to fix when the entire spine of the side needed readdressed. And it's just, you look at it now, if that is their business done, you'd struggle to argue they're stronger.
With further speculation surrounding Pogba as well.
If things start going wrong at the start of the season for Man United, and they lose some big games. I mean, first game of the season against Chelsea, as if that's not enough of a test. If things start going wrong, where do United go from here? Because if
you can't sack him.
I was going to say, it's almost like it's an impossible position, because if you sack Solskjaer, who the bloody hell do you get in? And if you don't sack Solskjaer,
hard that.
Then you could arguably be on a downward
Weirdly,
spiral.
I don't think they want
Give it Giggsy till end of the season.
Weirdly, I don't think many people want to admit this. Man United remind me of Liverpool in 2010, 2011. Kind of in the situation where, being talent is turning you down, you're turning towards, kind of your Stuart Downings and your Charlie Adams, and it's not. And that was a very long period of decline for the club. It took years to get out. It wasn't just a simple case of, we'll sign this player and that'll get us out of this hump for a little bit. It took years and years of restructuring and quite a few years of pain as well.
Or as it's known in Newcastle, the Kenny Dalglish effect.
And honestly, I could see this being long term. Even though they've made to address certain issues with the team this season. No one's looking at Maguire for 80 million as a smart piece of business. They might do it at the end of the season, but right now they're not.
It looks like they've paid over the odds to get a player they really wanted.
Is it Marouane Fellaini all over again, this?
I wouldn't go that far. The problem Man United have got is this is happening at a very bad time for them. All clubs, regardless of how good they are, how big they are, how successful they are, have to go through painful periods. You're a Liverpool fan, you've seen it yourself. You go through times where you go you're in phases of transition, and if mistakes are made, if the right players aren't brought in or the right managers isn't appointed, you slide further, and it becomes harder and harder to get yourself out of it. Now in the past,
I know that.
now in the past, that didn't used to be too bad at the very top of the Premier League because you get these 4 Champions League places, and when he comes in from that, you're fine. Like Man United had transitional periods under Alex Ferguson, but realistically, they were never going to drop below 3rd because there was never 4 or 5 other teams that could conceivably mount a sustained challenge like that, or even 4 or 5 other teams that had the financial to go and take players off you. Even if you missed out on the Champions League places, you were still Man United. You know, I remember Newcastle got into the Champions League, and we were still losing players to Man United because it was a more attractive place to go. Now you look at things, you look at the opportunity to go to Spurs, for example, or even an Arsenal and Chelsea, even though they're not in it, and you think, is that an attractive prospect? They've slid now so far, it becomes harder and harder to get back in it. And, you know, getting a young right back who got a load of assists last season at Crystal Palace doesn't fix that. Getting a centre back because he's English and he's got a face like a concrete slab doesn't fix that. It's like a structural change that you make at the club. And if Solskjaer doesn't make these guys gel and doesn't have them playing well from the start of the season, they're in big trouble.
It's a vicious cycle, isn't it? Because whereas in previous years,
it's funny as well.
It's funny, but whereas in previous years, I just didn't remember. You know, Chelsea dropped out of the bottom 4, out of the top 4, I should say. Sorry. But they could attract players still because they were like, don't worry, we'll be back in the Champions League next season. And then they brought these players in and they won the league, and then they were back in the Champions League. It's a hard sell that. Don't worry, if you come in, we'll definitely make the top 4.
Genuinely, I don't know how, if you're Man United right now, from even a business perspective, never mind a football perspective, you can plot a course to going back above City. I genuinely can't see how, not for the next comfortably 5, 6, 7 years. Yeah. And how do you convince a player to come in on a 7 or 8 year project?
Yeah.
You can't now. No.
European football is so important. Like, we wouldn't have signed Van Dijk or Mohamed Salah or Naby Keita. I know Naby Keita hasn't done much, but we wouldn't have signed those players or Alisson if we weren't in Europe. Back when we weren't in Europe, we were losing out on players like Eriksen to Spurs, Liverpool to Spurs. It made no sense at the time, but European football, players, top talent in football want to play in the Champions League. They want to play against the very best, and if you can't offer that, it doesn't matter if you're Man United. They're just going to turn you down anyway. And you look at the obscene business decisions that they've made. It does give long-term cause for concern.
With that in mind, then, if we say a team is struggling to break into the top 4, for example, but is just missing out, could you see a scenario where a team starts dedicating almost all its focus to the Europa League? You know, Chelsea obviously won it last season. Arsenal that seemed to be their sort of target as we headed towards the last few weeks and months of the season.
I think if you look at the finalists of the Europa League since they brought that in, certainly the teams getting into the last stages, that's already the case to an extent.
That's what Mourinho did.
I mean, like you've seen in the past, and again, as a Liverpool fan, you'll know that the clubs that knocked you out of the Europa League are ridiculous. Like, you should never be losing to them, but it wasn't a focus. The sides getting put out were weaker. The attention wasn't on there. It was all on the league because you needed to get back into the Champions League. But we saw that time with Man United when Mourinho got, because these clubs of this stature tend to find themselves in the latter stage of these competitions. They don't really have to do much, and the next thing you know, they're in the last 16 or the last 32. And it got to there, and all of a sudden, you were getting squads getting rotated against clubs in the week, so they could field stronger sides in the Europa League during the weekend. It's an interesting one, but we'll get back to the thing, because only less than half an hour to go in the transfer window. Roy Hodgson said that Crystal Palace's business is done for today, which means Wilfried Zaha will not be leaving at all. But obviously, some problems with that for Palace fans because they've added Gary Cahill.
Yeah.
Who did they sign this morning?
Didn't they sign Danny Welbeck as well?
No, that was Watford.
Sorry,
Watford signed Danny Welbeck.
James McCarthy.
James McCarthy. But given that Wan-Bissaka's left and Batshuayi's left as well, and that's kind of the only real thing they've done, they do look weak at both the back and the front now.
I'd say I think the big thing for them this season, as much as I agree with that, I think the target for them was just, for God's sake, don't sell Zaha.
Yeah,
I
would say that they've had a good transfer window under the, and it means we can all put Miljevic in our fantasy league.
I took him out and I'll put him back in now. But will Zaha be? What's it like to have him in the dressing room now? We don't know. It's
going to be one of those things that you're not going to know until the season starts, and he might look like he's taking them. But he strikes me as the kind of player in that position where if he'd really wanted to force a move. So you must imagine he's at least fairly content there for the time being. Brighton and Hove Albion have done a big deal.
Go on.
They've extended their shirt sponsorship for the first time, making it the most valuable one in the club's history.
Didn't like that. I don't like their new shirt. It's got weird like chevrons on it. It's got like black chevrons.
It's not West Ham's new kit, like.
Yeah, there's a mix. What do you think, West? I don't like it. I did the list on the channel. Very good. Go and check it out. On the kits, and I disagreed with Benjamin Richardson, who wrote the article. He put West Ham's.
out with him. We had it out with him about.
I said it looked like a printer when it runs. I think it just prints it on another colour for the
One
last
interesting thing was 20 minutes left to go. Arsenal have been fairly confident all day of doing deals for Tierney and Luis. As it stands,
they've not actually.
They haven't.
There was a comment in the comment section earlier, and it was from a Man United fan.
Just you got to caveat that before you mention someone's footballing opinion.
It's from Ishon7, who says Luis is about to do his medical. I don't know how he knows that, but that's what it's being reported.
Well, that's what's been reported all day.
I don't believe in a football take on transfer gossip unless it has the eyes emoji and the shaking hands.
Until they are pictured holding the shirt outside the ground, it is not official.
Is it #ITK in the know?
#ITK,
yes.
As it stands, though, with 19 minutes left to go by my watch anyway, Arsenal yet to bring in.
They agreed the fee with Celtic for Tierney, and that'll be.
As Jim White always does on these things when he's trying to get the fact that his children won't return his phone calls out of his head for a second, the paperwork can go through slightly later than the deadline, so hence why we're doing 4:10 till 5:10.
You mentioned Arsenal there. Khan Ravitch says, how would you rate Arsenal's window if they get Luis and Tierney?
If they get Luis and Tierney, very, 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 very good. Not perfect. I think if you look at the money they've spent at the top of the pitch versus the money they've spent at the bottom of the pitch, they needed to redistribute that slightly better.
God will save us, or whatever it was.
Yeah, God will help us. You could have quite easily offloaded, I think, an Ozil type, to be honest. I think you could have got rid of him, or you could have got a player who didn't cost quite as much as Pepe and had a stronger window in attack, whilst investing a lot more money in the back. Like, there was all that talk of Daniele Rugani coming over from Italy. He would have been a great signing, I think. Probably struck a better buy. Whisper it maybe, but all I will say is, again, as a neutral, I cannot wait to watch Arsenal in the Premier League this year. It's going to be like watching Arsenal's invincible side, but with like Arsenal's George Graham side defending.
As a neutral, watching Arsenal last season, I sat there and I watched the way that Aubameyang and Lacazette interact with each other, and I thought, this is one of the great front two pairings. If you want to, I know they often played either or put one wide, but if you want to do the classic English 4-4-2 system, which I still do on fantasy football just because I'm relic. If you want to do that, I watched that and I thought, tell you what, if they can get a few more players in midfield and certainly, as I said, a solid defence, they've got a real squad here. What they've done is just gone, what's that? More strikers?
Wait, have you just said if they could get a solid midfield and a few good players in defence?
Yes.
What club does that not apply
to?
Indeed.
But I just thought the attacking prowess that Arsenal already had without the addition of Pepe.
So much of last season, they didn't play Lacazette and Aubameyang together, and that completely perplexed me. It's like you've got these two versatile attackers, to be fair. You could have played Lacazette and Aubameyang together in, either in a front, on the left side of attack, the right hand's behind him. I don't know. It's interesting. And Pepe, again, his agent was speaking to, I think it was L'Equipe, about why Pepe went to Arsenal. And it's because all the other European teams had their attacking trios cemented, whereas Arsenal didn't. And you could see Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Pepe being a very formidable front
100%.
three. So yeah.
I think the problem they had last year, wasn't it, that it was simply that Aubameyang was playing so much better through the middle, was playing out on the left. He was scoring so many goals through the middle. If you put Lacazette up there, you kind of can't do that because you have them both on the pitch, but I think they wanted first and foremost to have Aubameyang through the middle, and Lacazette can't play on the left or the right, so it was kind of a bit of a difficult decision for them.
Very quickly, before we move on to more transfer news, if you're wondering what this is the WhatCulture Fantasy Football Trophy from last season. If you're a fan of fantasy football, we're going to be releasing a video, I think probably tomorrow, going through our fantasy football teams, giving you our tips. And if you want to get involved and join the WhatCulture Fans League, the link to that is in the comment section right now. We commented that about 10 minutes ago. It's QUMBV3. QUMBV3. If you want to join us on fantasy football and pit your wits against the three of us.
This photo's emerged, allegedly showing David Luiz in an Arsenal kit, but is that the most weirdly photo? There's a dreadful Photoshop doing the rounds.
That is the most it's my turn to play on the Xbox pose I've ever seen.
That's quite odd. Why would someone do that? That's terrifying.
Yeah, exactly. The deadline day. By the way, did we all see the clip of the transfer rewind? Clip from Sky was very, very depressing. Anime Holic Tops, who's donated as well, thank you so much, says update on Dybala ?
Well, we said this at the top of the hour.
Indeed,
as they say on these live broadcast, but by all accounts, he's now no longer going to be going to the Premier League. He will almost certainly be leaving Juventus, such as his want-away desire to. But Juventus have apparently pulled the plug on any deals today because, as it stands, they just don't really want to sell him, which I think is their way of saying, please leave us alone, Tottenham. We can't be bothered with your fax machine.
I have a skewed opinion of Dybala because I don't watch that much Italian football.
Well, Genoa season ticket holder Adam Clery here will happily fill you in.
And my knowledge of him was also, or my memories of him, I should say, is either wonder goals that he scores, his celebrations, or having him in my team on FIFA. So I'm kind of skewed on that. Why hasn't it worked that? Because I think when everyone heard Ronaldo going to Juventus and they thought, oh my God, Ronaldo and Dybala and Higuain, or whatever combination of those you want to combine. Why hasn't that worked out?
Not a Serie A expert, but I do know that people have said that since Ronaldo have come in, that Dybala has kind of found himself pushed out the team, not being able to play in the way that he wants to. I never really know what position Dybala's in. I know he's a number 10 or whether he's a forward or whatever. So I think there's very much a case that Ronaldo might have, put him off balance, as it were. The interesting thing today about him not moving across to the a lot of it's to do with his image rights, which is interesting because you do see Dybala in a Juventus kit everywhere, all of the time. And you think about, Juventus have just signed that exclusive deal with Konami for PlayStation Soccer, where they've given them the exclusive rights there. Dybala will probably feature heavily there. He featured heavily last year in FIFA as one of the cover stars there. So it's kind of funny and bewildering to me.
Reported 13 million it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For the agent fee, image rights and whatnot, which is just. I know it's not our money, it doesn't really matter, and people who commentate on football sitting there going, this is an absurd fee, it's just the most tedious people on earth, but I think if you're bringing somebody into your team, when they've never played there before, into a league they've never played in before, in a country they've never played in before, in a style of football or a system they've never played in before, when they've previously, the last 12 months, proved to be unadaptable to a change in system, because the thing that's thrown Dybala off is having to play not second fiddle to Ronaldo, but he's obviously been brought in for 99 million. He gets to play the way that's going to bring the most out, because that's how you play if you sign Cristiano Ronaldo. Dybala and a few others have had to do slightly different jobs all of a sudden. They've had to move to slightly different areas of the pitch, or move into slightly different areas of the pitch, or be expected to do different things with the ball in certain positions. Dybala has certainly not been a disaster, but he's not a guaranteed starter now. He finds himself going in and out. He's used in various different ways. It's stunted his growth. It's certainly stunted his development in that regard. So it's a bit of an odd one, because I don't quite think you can make those kind of financial demands. You're not going to be like, look, I will get you 20, 30 goals. I will be everything that I'm meant to be. He would be a risk at that kind of price, I think. And so if a club doesn't want to pay 13 million just for the rights to have him in his underwear advertising Davidoff Cool Water, then fine.
Or Angel Revive. Remember the days.
Shiny Red Button says, who will score the goals for Chelsea? I'm worried that the players coming back could take time getting used to the league. I said this. I've got a real concern. I think the team who could have the biggest drop this season, in terms of the bigger sides, could well be Chelsea. They've lost Hazard. Losing Luiz is maybe not as big of an issue.
Dropping the H because he's really continental.
Eden
as well, is it? Eden Hazard.
Eden Hazard. Is there any should there be concern?
I mean, they have loads of. I this is the cliche, they've got loads of talented English talent there. Why aren't they playing them? Blah blah blah. Well, Frank is going to put that theory to the test this season.
That's what it's going to be.
And you've got Tammy Abraham, who didn't quite cut the mustard in the PL when he was with Swansea. He was fairly inconsistent there. Had a great season. I think it was with Aston Villa last season, if I'm not mistaken. Again, Mason Mount impressed while with Derby.
Sorry, just to interrupt you very quickly. Andy Carroll has tweeted, "I'm coming home."
Oh my
word! A clip of him scoring a goal, literally a minute ago. I'll double check that is actually Andy Carroll's account. Yes,
not a parody.
Not a parody.
I was going to say this before people tweet. He hasn't tweeted for 3 years.
Oh.
Look, I didn't realise that either.
Oh, that's nice.
Later this saying Arsenal have now confirmed the signing of fullback Kieran Tierney from Celtic. Fee's going to be around £25 million for that. Biggest deal of the day so far?
I think it's going to. I think it's certainly. Arguably, when we look back in a few years, I think Kieran Tierney is going to be a sensation in the Premier League. I really, really do.
And the worry for me is they think that they've just signed Andy Robertson, or they've absolutely categorically not signed Andy Robertson.
No,
that's the problem.
There are fitness concerns.
He's been in and out of the Celtic side. I wouldn't go so far as say fitness concerns. He's had a few injuries when he previously had them for a while. periods of the season he has missed haven't been too catastrophic. But, I don't know, you're going to take a risk, aren't you? Mm-hmm. He's young, he's got a lot of ability.
Mail Online, Daily Mail are reporting that Andy Carroll has completed that sensational move. He's passed the medical. He's agreed a one-year pay-as-you-play deal.
Is he in the shirt?
All I can find at the moment
when you play.
Indeed, I think he has to turn up, give him a fiver, and then he can go on. No, all I can find when I'm looking for an image of Andy Carroll in his shirt is that time when I think he had cornrows. So I'll keep looking.
We'll leave that for now. Arsenal have also issued an update on David Luiz, saying they may not be able to officially announce it before 5 p.m, but they are confident of having the paperwork in.
The only image I can find of Andy Carroll is him stood pitch side.
There are stripes there.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
The thing about the Carroll deal, which hasn't quite been reported yet, is apparently he's taking a huge pay cut for this. His guaranteed wages are plummeting in order to do it, where he apparently did have offers, because he's being a free agent, he did have a few offers where he could have gone and earned relatively similar money to what he was on West Ham. Obviously not the same money, because West Ham like to, again, stack bonfires full of centre-forwards. So it's nice. He clearly does want to return to Newcastle. A lot of people will look at Mike Ashley basically pocketing an academy, pocketing £35 million for an academy graduate, never spending it, and then getting him back for free some 9 years later as an incredible piece of business. Boils my piss, really does, but yeah, well done, fair play, nice to have him back. Pop world.
Before I do want to finish that point about Chelsea, but we've got a quick point from Black Area Gaming, which covered in the news this morning, but I do want to mention it because it might be the signing of the day. As a Manchester City supporter, what the actual fuck is with Scott Carson to Man City on loan? All I can think is it's due to homegrown player quotas. Well, you pointed out today he's actually better than Edison and Claudio Bravo.
Champions League winner, Scott Carson.
Yes.
So
is that right?
Yeah.
You're on the bench.
Yeah.
So he's technically got more European pedigree than pretty much anyone else.
Exactly. Put some respect on Scott Carson's name.
Thing is, at 33, he wasn't exactly bad at Derby County. As we said in the news video this morning, he's still kind of haunted by that image he's got of throwing a ball into the back of his net in a crucial England European Championship qualifier, which ultimately saw them go out to Croatia. But he's carved out a very good career for himself since then. And let's not all forget Rob Green, similar story, chucked one in the back of his net in a crucial game for England, and was seen drinking out of the Europa League trophy.
Yes!
So, there is a rich pedigree of washed up former England international goalkeepers going and, I don't know if it's an official photograph, but we'll go with it.
It's been announced, Carroll has apparently been announced on Newcastle Twitter. We are slightly biased up here. But anyway, we'll return to this Chelsea point then, because I do apologise, I interrupted you on several occasions.
How dare you?
Yeah, should Chelsea fans be worried?
I think there is a degree of worry to be had. I mean, you've lost... I know he was divisive, but he won them the Europa League. He got
them into the Champions League.
His first season secured a top 4 finish and won silverware in Europe. That's pretty amazing no matter how you look at it.
And would have won a league trophy had the keeper actually listened to him.
Yeah, exactly.
You mean League Cup trophy?
Yes, League Cup. Yes.
Don't know what that is. That's the window beginning to close with 10 minutes to go. Jim White's out there with the WD-40, just like, I've got to get it going.
There's someone doing some banter down there. Tammy Abraham, I think, is probably a really... Pulisic, still a very unknown quantity, did well in the Bundesliga, but is he going to be the one to replace Hazard?
No.
That's what you could have said. Who cares about that?
No. Hudson-Odoi as well. Is he going to live up to the hype? There are loads of question marks around that Chelsea team, and you have Willian, who isn't exactly is he not going to bang? So this is a really funny noise. I'm sorry. It's really funny.
The thing I have with the issue I have with Chelsea is there's this good feeling obviously going around the club, but we saw that last season. That can go away very quickly if the team doesn't perform, if results don't go their way. It can dissipate very, very quickly. From what I gather, one of my friends works at Derby County, and apparently all the reports of Lampard is he's very good at man management, as you'd expect from someone like that who's been in and around the likes of Jose Mourinho for quite long periods in his career. But it's
took a weird insinuation there, but go on.
I'm fascinated by Chelsea this season.
Breaking news: Watford have had a bid rejected for Tottenham's Danny Rose.
Here's a question: why do teams leave it this late? I realise when I play Football Manager, it gives me a lot more time on transfer deadline day to try and sign players.
Look, as you know, we all went to university. The task given will always fill the time allotted. You telling me You telling me with an hour to go to hand your essay in, it was done?
Oh, hell no.
Absolutely not.
I was very much the person who went, I can write about, how many 100 words an hour, work that back before the time that the essay needs to be
video games, polish one off.
Right, pot noodle. Right.
Speaking of that, Watford. I don't know how late the bid was put in, but apparently it's been officially knocked back by Tottenham now, so he will not be leaving Spurs.
That makes sense to me. I mean,
well, again, I say this: he will not be leaving Spurs for a Premier League side because, as we know, Pogba might still go, Ericsson might still go. Any player who's quite happy moving abroad might still leave their club, but he will not be going to Watford in this.
So they have 3 players in that position basically now. So they have Sessegnon, Ben Davies, and Danny. I mean, obviously Sessegnon is more versatile, but that's still it's
surreal to think that Danny Rose was sat there. I think he did an interview at the start of last season, the season before, basically saying, "I think I'm better than this club." Pretty much, you know, he's always one who's had a high opinion of himself, quite rightly in some seasons. I think arguably he dropped off a little bit, but
don't know if you boys have got any plans for after this. But apparently the final details of the deal sheet are all being submitted. You have to submit your deal sheet to the Premier League, and that's what officially confirms the transfer. But you can submit the deal sheet up until 7 p.m. tonight. You just have to be able to prove that all the paperwork on the deal sheet was completed by 5 p.m.
Now, some people in the comments here are claiming Iwobi £40 million to Everton.
40 million for Alex Iwobi.
That is what is being claimed in our comment section.
Right, we're talking about Arsenal and Aston Villa stacking a bonfire.
I'll see if I can find anything about that.
Where are the F getting that money from? I mean, that's two windows on back, 3 windows back to back now. They've spent obscene amounts of money. You remember the summer before Coman left? They bought Klassen. They bought I completely forgot. They bought loads of players that window. They've invested heavily again. They've got a new stadium on the way. It's going to be by the Albert Dock.
Yeah.
Where's the money coming from? I'm sorry, I'm just really confused.
A lot of transfer sites are reporting that Iwobi's definitely going through. Nowhere you would regard as more credible than us just making something up as yet. So we'll see.
I'm just going to say for the purposes of my moral outrage, it's definitely happening.
I'm pleased to tell you that the Andy Carroll deal we keep talking about is definitely happening because Kevin Nolan's on Sky Sports News talking about it.
We just love them. Dominic King from the Daily Mail, Putter, is reporting that Everton are indeed going to get the breakthrough in Alex Iwobi. But again, another one of these that might have to go through at 7 p.m, but the paperwork will be done by 5.
I can't. So
£40 million.
So right, 40 million. That's ridiculous. So on the wing they've got Walcott,
yeah.
Richarlison playing on the wing and as a striker. They've got Bernard, and now Iwobi.
Moise Kean.
He's the striker.
Didn't Moise Kean say? Did I read this right? They said, what's your answer?
7 goals.
He's going to score 7 goals
at least.
Season.
He's going to score 7 goals.
That's a reasonable return. Wait, centre forward.
Yeah.
8 years away for Andy Carroll going back to Newcastle
What's
United.
this feel like as a Newcastle fan?
I remember, for what it's worth, I remember him being double presented next to Luis Suarez.
I remember that.
The day.
What does it feel like? It's an odd one because you're very happy. Just fan of the club. It was his boyhood club. He made his debut here. He made his name here. He made his very career here. He still has the most successful period of his career in terms of goals here. He scored more goals for Newcastle than he scored for any other side, which is bizarre. He had 1 full season in the Championship and up until January in the Premier League, and he scored more goals for Newcastle than he did for Liverpool, for West Ham. It's nice to have him back. The deal makes it's a brilliant piece of business for Newcastle because they've got him on a free at massively reduced wages. It's only a 1-year deal. There's no commitment. It's a piece of business. It's incredible. I just wish it wasn't there purely to detract from the fact that we've replaced a Champions League winning manager with a guy who occasionally gets out of the Championship and let proven goal scorers at the club leave to replace them with people who may or may not do anything.
30 seconds left of the transfer window. If Arsenal sell Iwobi for 40 million and have brought the players they have done in, have they had arguably the best transfer window out of everyone?
They had a fantastic window.
Again, no confirmation on David Luiz.
Still no confirmation on David Luiz.
10
seconds remaining.
They still have Mustafi at the club. All I'm saying.
He's a body though.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thudunk!
There we
should have
have
had a
it.
bell for this.
Yeah,
Ding, 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 ding. That's too hard.
The transfer window has officially closed.
Oh,
That's not even the
I'll
right.
put that bit's metal.
No, this is.
Ding-a-ling.
I have a little music box that plays the Star Wars theme.
That would have been good.
Yeah, yes.
There we go. Officially slam shut, is it?
I mean, it's stunning if they sell it.
Who
For
will be for 40 million? 40 million? Where? What?
I don't know what to tell you. What we thought was dreadful.
What?
Ridiculous.
But apparently Twitter are reporting, this is unrelated.
Twitter are reporting.
Neymar has been loaned out to Barcelona with a 200 million price tag, obligatory charge next summer. I don't know how true that is. That is purely the comment section that gives us that information.
Yeah.
You would never lead us astray. You would never lead us astray.
I'm filing that one. I believe it when I see it. As again, La Liga clubs and Liga and clubs are under no obligation to force do anything ridiculous before 5 p.m. For example, buying Alex Iwobi for £40 million.
I was just about to ask what you think the biggest deals left of the summer will be, and then Alex Iwobi is just
blowing
completely
them all out of the
thrown everything.
I still think realistically
out
we're going to expect Neymar to move, Coutinho to move, probably Dybala to move,
Sane?
maybe Sane to move. But I think if Sane was going to leave, you would have seen Manchester City bringing in another attacker the last few days. I think
They've signed so many. They've just...
That
They're not in that position though.
Cancelo Danilo swap is the most disgusting.
Brilliant
thing.
bit of business.
It's
Brilliant bit of
amazing
business.
by them. It's disgusting.
I think Haldir Hardy sums up the entire opinion of the WhatCulture office
Doesn't
in
he ever?
that comment. At least now the Dybala talks to the Premier League will finally be over.
For a few months they will, yes.
David Cook says, if Iwobi goes for 40 million, Arsenal will have won the very concept of transfer windows for all time.
40 million!
And I've got to say thank you to Darth Ramios, or Ramius, anyway.
Fan of the channel.
Who says, keep an eye on Christian Pulisic, I never know which one to do because he's American, isn't he? Keep an eye on him at
No
Chelsea.
doubt, whatever it is, you'll just drop a consonant off it at some point in the near future. Christian Pulisic.
I should have said earlier, the reports are Neymar to Barcelona. That's
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Look at him go.
Who would have thought that picture used to be Rafa Benitez and Solomon Rondon, and now it's Steve Bruce and Andy Carroll.
I'm here for the narrative.
Yeah.
One Geordie's at your football club, dear, says Mike Ashley, rubbing his fat hands in glee. I'll give you all the Geordies in the world. Colback's back.
People talking in the comment section.
Cole's back.
Cole's back. Very good.
David Ornstein is reporting that Everton have signed Iwobi. I mean, if that is true, for 40 million...
Right. I can't laugh at this unless he scores a screamer in the 90th minute of the Merseyside
Done
derby.
deal?
But
Done deal.
for now, I'm going to enjoy the moment and just...
Oh, sorry, I should get that. I just glanced at yours and it said 35 to 40 million.
Yeah, so there might only be 35.
Yeah, so
That's still obscene.
Be sensible here, Ewan.
People in the comment section, talking about Sessegnon to Spurs. That's another really good signing for them in terms of potential.
Oh, another one that sneaked through right before the deadline. Manchester City have confirmed the signing of goalkeeper Scott Carson on loan from Derby.
European Cup winner Scott.
European Cup winner Scott Carson. Bringing in some much needed European pedigree, you would argue.
Can you imagine if City got some... I'm not wishing this on anyone. No. But some horrendous injuries. And Scott Carson...
Bravo, and...
Edison.
I was saying Johnny Bravo for a second.
Run into each other in training.
I mean...
They both shout keeper's ball, but because it's the same words the other one said, they just assume it was them that said it. Some horrendous mid-air injury, and Scott Carson... Don't worry, lads. I got this.
It's the mental image you painted in my mind of him playing it out from the back.
Again, more European history in their keeper than they have in their entire club. So
here we go. Here we go.
You brought me on. You knew what you were getting.
I just like that. Like it's it's the semi-final. They're away in the Camp Nou, right? They're trailing 1-0. It's all to play for. Get the ball from a goal kick, and then Laporte goes to the left, and Otamendi goes to the right. Split the centre backs. Scott Carson just confidently plays it out from his 6-yard box. They play it back to him, and he's just got to find that little defence splitter between the pressing midfielders. And Scott Carson is there like, here you are, Scotty. Here you are. This is what we train for. And he just ends up booting it into his own net.
Someone saying in the comment here, odds on Scott Carson becoming a 2-time Champions League winner.
Wow, could happen. City have got to be heavy favourites, or certainly one of them for the Champions League this year. And he gets a medal.
There is this little known issue though. And that, you know, I'm just saying, it ruins dreams.
Well, they're not going to get to the trophy presentation and someone in a studio 200 miles away is going to be looking at little camera footage going, it's got Carson on their bench. Referee's like, him, no, not him.
Do you think one of the reasons, someone's pointing this out in the comment section, do you think one of the reasons why they haven't sold Sane is his ACL injury in the Charity Shield?
I think that was what was reported at the time, is that Bayern were potentially cooling on the move
I
because
just
of
love that.
the injury.
Right, don't worry, boys. We'll play Sane, but he'll be gone soon.
Yeah.
What? He's injured?
Yeah.
Oh.
The worst thing about that is that Sane always turns into the most ridiculous player against Liverpool. So, you know, I think
He's a good player, full stop.
he's a fantastic player, but he's particularly bothersome when he plays us.
Is that because he's a left winger and Alexander Arnold's grossly overrated?
Oh.
I'm just looking at the evidence, as I say. This is playing quite well against that one player.
A lot of excitement in the comment section here about
It's going to be a load over that as well.
NUFC for life. NUFC are going to be champions now. Is this the thing that keeps you up?
Look,
Sorry, very quickly, from a neutral's perspective, I want to say this. I'm a huge fan of Andy Carroll, both on and off the pitch. He just strikes me as one of those players that you always feel a little bit sorry for. He's been so unlucky on numerous occasions now, and I'd love him to come back to Newcastle now and have a phenomenal season.
I just want him to score one important goal. I remember when Lee Clark came back, which was a horrendous idea at the time. He was playing centre midfield. He was only meant to be there as a coach, but because Graham Souness cannot run a football club, he ended up having to play. He was given more money than Boston had ever been given to spend, Graham Souness. He was given a war chest, right? And he went out and he bought all these great players, and he ended up, at the back half of his time there, having a centre midfield of Lee Clark and Amdi Faye. Right? That was what having Graham Souness manage a football club does. And so far had we fallen from these lofty ambitions of signing like Luke A and Michael Owen that we were scraping to try and get a draw at home to Middlesbrough. And Lee Clark just swung a hopeful leg at a cleared corner that trickled through about 8 or 9 sets of legs, burned 3 worms on the way, nestled in the back of the net. And Lee Clark got to score this important equaliser. And I remember thinking, I hated him for that. Because if we'd lost to Middlesbrough at home, they would have had to sack Souness. John Carew did it as well. John Carew blazed a last-minute penalty over the bar for Villa. And if Villa had won that game, they would have had to sack Souness. And he didn't. He's just the jammiest bugger ever. So anyway, I just want him to score one goal that keeps Steve Bruce in a job. And that'll be me happy. I digress.
Carl McConville says, front 4, Almiron, St Maxim, Joe Linton and Carroll. Defo top 10.
Top 10 what?
Top 10 what? There's definitely a list in
Top
it.
10 players in the team.
We are getting close towards the end of this live stream. So, I mean, a lot of people saying this has been a really good transfer window for Premier League clubs. They've done some good bits of business, haven't they?
It's been one of the mad transfer windows ever because usually these long-running sagas tend to have a conclusion. That Dybala is nowhere to be seen at 5:10 on the day the window slams shut is a bit of a letdown for everybody involved. I mean, remember we started the summer hearing that like, oh, Neymar could be going somewhere and Coutinho's coming back to the Premier League. And Bale could be coming back and all this. I wouldn't say any Premier League club has signed a name that strengthens the Premier League. Now, you always want the best players in the world to be in. I mean, I remember when Man United first started rebuffing all those offers for it was great because the 2 most exciting young players in the world, which was him and Rooney at the time, were going to be staying in the Premier League. When Liverpool kept hold of Suarez for an extra season, it was great because he looked like one of the best players in the world. And I would say nobody who comes into that conversation has come to the Premier League this year. It's a shame because year after year, they just don't attract the biggest players in the world.
And yet it's the best league in the world.
But it's the most watched league in the world.
I think it is the
most competitive.
It's most competitive as well.
Yes.
Whether or not that's a help or a hindrance, I don't know. But the fact that Neymar, Coutinho, Dybala, Suarez, Bale, Messi, Ronaldo, these players are never going to come to the Premier League. And it's a shame because you want to watch the best players in the world. And time again, I mean, I'm sure you would argue it's Mo Salah. I personally think the best player in the Premier League over the last 5 years consistently has been Eden Hazard. And he's gone now. And we haven't replaced him in the league with a player of that calibre, in my opinion. And no doubt Salah keeps playing the way he's playing, he'll likely be off to a Madrid or a Barcelona soon enough as well. Like, I don't think any team in the Premier League can keep these calibre of players. It's a shame because they're not attracting them at the same time.
No. Eric Mortensen asks, which team has done the worst business this summer?
Oh, Palace have got to be up there in the conversation. Although, as we said, keeping hold of Zaha is a very good bit of business. Man United. And I know it's you'll not fans of other clubs.
I was sorry.
I'd say Man United done a lot worse.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't going to say Liverpool. Yeah. I mean, I think we just haven't had a window.
The thing is, purely in terms of who's done the best business, you could make the argument that Liverpool have done the worst business because they've not strengthened in any way, shape, or form. And of all the teams at that end of the table, are arguably weaker because they've let a few players go on loan. There's going to be exhaustion playing a factor with the amount of time a lot of the players have spent in international competitions. And so, whereas Man United, they have strengthened. Harry Maguire is an upgrade on Phil Jones. Wan-Bissaka is an upgrade on Ashley Young, and Daniel James is an upgrade on not having Daniel James.
Yes,
they have strengthened, so they've done good. They've done better business than Liverpool, you might argue. But if you've given Liverpool that much money to spend, I'm sure they would have made much better use of it. So you could argue Liverpool have had the worst transfer window in the sense that City and Tottenham have strengthened quite well. They look to have done quite well. They could get certainly left behind by one and caught up slightly by another, but again, the quality of the squad they've got, you could argue they were in a position where they didn't have to do any business. As long as they kept everybody there, that is in itself.
It's a concern, it can't be a massive concern.
It's going to be one of them. It's going to be one of them.
Yeah.
If you get 10 games into the season, you've picked up a couple of knocks, or you're clearly suffering with tiredness and it's not quite clicking the way it was last season, you look back at it and say, well, we botched the transfer window. Whereas if they hit the ground running and they look exactly the same side they were last year, going toe-to-toe with City, then you go, well, they did a great bit of business because they've kept exactly where they were without spending a penny. So it's difficult to say the here and now. I would not surprise me at all if in 10 games' time we are potentially talking about Arsenal doing the best transfer window of any club in recent years, or if we're talking about Arsenal doing the worst transfer window of any club in recent years.
Very quickly, bottom three.
Burnley, Sheffield, and either Newcastle or Norwich.
Burnley, Sheffield United, and either Brighton, Norwich, or Newcastle.
I'm going to go Sheffield, Norwich, Brighton. I'm hoping Andy Carroll to win the. I've just realised tomorrow I finally get the receipt of my pasty bet with Andy Murray at the start of last season.
You're going to do 10 goals for any.
Yep.
I would do 5.
I'll see what he offers.
Yeah.
But yes, Andy Murray is going to feed me my Premier League pasty as at the start.
Do it on camera?
Indeed,
Just shovel it into
possibly
your
during the news tomorrow. As a result of his terrible betting that Solomon Rondon would not score 10 league goals. Let's flip it around.
Yep.
Top 4.
In order.
Let's go fourth to first.
Right. Well, okay. Fourth to first. I'm gonna say Arsenal. Get that fourth position. Then I'm gonna say Spurs, then Liverpool, and then I think City are probably going to win this.
I'm going to say Chelsea 4th. I think Arsenal are going to be great fun to watch, but I can see them just throwing away silly points here and there. And I do genuinely think the lack of a transfer window, lack of new signings, does mean that Chelsea might bond a bit. They might look solid. I think they might be the antithesis to Arsenal in that they've not been able to add anything at the top of the pitch. Indeed, are much weaker at that end. And admittedly, they are losing David Luiz, which I've just realised completely flaws this argument. But I just think if they get organised, you could see them having a good solidity. Teams, there's never been an open Chelsea side. Do you know what I mean? Like ever since the money came in, they've never been weak at the back. And I could just see Lampard getting a few players to go above and beyond themselves for the badge this year. They might grind out a 4th place out of that. Then I think, just to be different, I think Liverpool in 3rd. I think Tottenham have shown real ambition, have got real hunger, they're going to have better legs this season. You would think they would have more energy as the season goes on, and arguably with some of the buys they've made, we've talked about who gets in at left back, who gets in at right back, they've got a little bit more depth maybe, time will tell. Then Tottenham in 2nd, Man City in 1st.
That's Man United. Jesus! I agree, Arsenal 4th. Arsenal 4th. Tottenham 3rd, because they're Tottenham. They've got a phenomenal squad, but it's Tottenham at the end of the day. I did predict in the news earlier that I do think Tottenham will win a trophy this season, though.
Oh, that's a big exhale, that is.
Man City 2nd, Liverpool.
Really?
Liverpool win the league.
Interesting.
Their second half. I realise I shouldn't do this, and I'm sensible when it comes to fantasy football. Don't forget to join the WhatCulture Fans League for that. But I'm an old romantic at heart, and there's a bit of me that thinks Man City, despite the fact they've got 3 players in every single position and Liverpool haven't strengthened,
200 million
despite the fact they've got the Rock that is Scott Carson now.
Not the Rock, though.
No, not the Rock. In there as well. Just that second half performance in the Charity Shield, I just thought, I mean, it's impossible. But if Liverpool play like that all season, and City go, right, come on, we've won the league enough now. Let's concentrate on the Champions League.
I'd like it if they would do that. I'd call it Pep and just be like, can you just chill?
Yeah.
Do something different.
And
Stop winning, it's boring.
Andy
It's really boring.
Andy Carroll to win the Golden Boot as well, I think. If you're going to do an out there prediction, you might as well do several ones.
Yep.
Right, this has been our live stream. I'm going to have to duck out of shot in a second to make sure that we stop when we say goodbye. So I'll do that in a second.
Okay.
But thank you very much for joining us. It's been a good fun, this. You can follow us all on Twitter. You can follow Ewan on Twitter at...
Ewan and
You can follow Adam Clery on Twitter at...
Adam Clery, CLERY.
You can follow me at Adam Wilbourn. You can follow us all at WhatCulture FC. And make sure you join that Fans League. Adam Clery, tell them how else I disappear.
You can join the Fans League by following the code, which I hope is in the description of this video. If not, it'll be on our Twitter, WhatCulture FC.
in the comments somewhere.
In the comments somewhere. We will make sure that you can get access to it. It's the Fans League. We're going to offer an as yet undisclosed, but nonetheless illustrious prize for whoever wins the Fans League.
Is it Josh Brown?
It is maybe Josh Brown, although we'll run that past him at some point. Anyway, though, this has been the transfer window slamming shut roundup. So thank you very much for joining us all. We've all said our goodbyes. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your fans about What Culture Football and follow it at What Culture FC. But in the meantime, thank you for your time. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your patience. We will see you soon. Wilbourn, kill it.
How dare you, sir!